Hello people, it's Chris in Arena Studio with another quick video chat for you really, this one. I get asked by so many people that come into the studio, I'm setting up a little home thing, what microphones do you use and what should I use and all this type of stuff that goes on with this recording journey that we're all on together. Now, for me, this is such, again, a difficult question to answer because I'm kind of dealing with all sorts of different scenarios, from rap to rock to pop to blues, from guitar to acoustic to classical to rock bands. Very, very difficult to kind of have a set mic locker, I would say, that has a lot of continuous use microphones. So for me, I kind of strip things down and keep it really simple. So I've picked 4 or 5 mics which are used constantly in my studio. Now, not necessarily the most expensive mic works as well, and I think you could be pleasantly surprised with some of the mics in this little list that I've got for you. For me, probably the most used mic in my locker is the old classic SM57, the Shure SM57. Now, why this mic is a great mic for me is I actually use this on acoustic guitar, I use it on snare drums, guitar cabs, I've got a few of these. I've used them on kick drums in the past, toms, depending on the recording environment. So again, this mic might work brilliantly in my drum room on toms, but it might not work in your drum room on toms. But if you're going to start out with anything, I would probably say that this is the first mic that it would go for because it's a very versatile thing. I've used it with some rock vocalists who prefer to have a handheld mic in the vocal room as well, and they prefer something like this as well. So this list, like I say, is all about the microphones that get used the most in arena recording studios. So it's not top of the list, I would say. I'm not sure which ones get used the most, but it's way up there, this. You know, it's a very versatile mic, the SM57. So there's one of those, and I reckon you could pick one of these up second-hand, 50, 60, 70 poundish. They're always out there for sale, and like I say, what sounds great in my studio is not necessarily going to sound great in yours. It's how your rooms are treated, mic positions, experience, preamps, all this kind of stuff, whether you're using the hardware preamps that I use or whether you're doing anything similar like that, or recording through the box, like the console stuff, like I like to use the UAD stuff as well now. So, you know, it all sounds different whether the room's treated like I say or not. So the SM57 has got to be in my go-to desert island mic. Now this next one is a little bit of a shocker for me. It's an AKG P170, and I've probably got 3 or 4 of these small diaphragm condensers. Again, a budget, real budget mic, these, probably less than £100. And the reason why I like this mic is, again, a small diaphragm condenser always sounds great on an acoustic guitar for me. Just let the transient of the attack, what a good word, transient of the attack through, of the pick. But again, it might not work for you, because one of the things that makes a big difference when recording acoustic guitars for me is the thickness of the pick. A thin pick allows more attack to come through as well. So there's so many different parameters. It's not just about getting a mic, banging it on an acoustic guitar and away you go. But I tend to use this mic more than anything on hi-hats and on cymbals, not as overheads, as cymbal mics. And I just find that these work brilliantly. And like I say, I've probably got maybe 3, 4, 5 of these dotted around the studio somewhere. Real good budget, small diaphragm condenser. It's the AKG P170. So that's one of my favorites, and it gets used loads, and that's why it's made my list, because it's used daily in the studio. Now this for me, I was absolutely gutted when they stopped making these. This is the Audio-Technica 3035. This mic, I do not know how old it is. I bought it brand new years ago when I was in a previous studio, and it gets used every single day. I use this microphone in the vocal booth. So if you ever see any of the shots of the students on the Facebook and Instagram pages, or people that are recording, 9 times out of 10, if they're in there, they're going to be using this bad boy, because this is my go-to mic for vocals in my vocal booth for the tuition. I sometimes use it depending on the singers that come in. It gets used as, I've got a couple of these as well dotted around. I've used them for drum overheads, acoustic guitars. I've even had them as room mics in the guitar rooms when I've been micing cabs up. So again, it's the Audio-Technica 3035, no longer in production, but I absolutely love these, and if I can drop on another one, I'm going to grab another one at some point as well. It was just my go-to mic for vocals for years before I got in the studios, and I still use it, like I say, on every single vocal lesson. This is the mic that they use, so it's probably the most used mic in the studio. The other one that gets used a lot, and again, I don't know whether you could pick one of these up. These were probably, I guess, at the time, maybe £250. I reckon you could probably maybe pick one of these up if you can drop on one, £100-ish, 150. So again, not a lot of money, but a very versatile, large diaphragm condenser mic. The Audio-Technica 3035. The other one that gets used a lot, and this is more on the pro sessions when I get the voiceovers or the pro singers that come in, or the vocalists who kind of know what they're looking for, is this. It's the Neumann, you all know what these are anyway, don't we? It's the U87 AI. Brilliant microphone for me, especially with a voiceover kind of artist or rap. I tend to find that, again, in my room, this works great. But how I set this up, I run this through a TL Audio valve preamp. And then I have a little bit of an exciter on the mic as well. And sometimes I'll even run it through the UAD console Neve 1073 preamps. On there, I find that there's very little difference between that and the real thing. So for me, again, this is the go-to mic for a lot of the recordings that are done in the studio when it comes down to vocals. Again, a very versatile mic. I've used it as room mics. I've even had it on a rock guitar cab with a little bit of distance on it to capture more of the room. So, but not cheap. Not cheap, these. I would say anywhere from £2,500 to maybe £3,000. So again, it's an expensive commodity in your studio. And if you put a £2,500 or £3,000 mic in a poorly treated room, it's going to sound like a £200 mic. So again, not necessarily the best way to go. Don't think that the best mic that you buy budget-wise, cost-wise, is going to be the be-all and end-all and solve all your recording problems. The most important bit, in my opinion, is to make sure that your room is treated correctly, and you know all about mic placements and gain staging, your preamps, all this kind of stuff, and get the best you can out of every microphone. So the list there really is quite obscure, because we've got something like a really cheap second-hand, maybe £50-60 SM57 and a £3,000 microphone. It's like, ooh, which is best? They all do different jobs, and these are the mics, like I say, there's 4 there that are used constantly, day in, day out in Arena Studio. So it's just a little insight into some of the things that go on. There's a lot I've got ribbon mics, I've got all sorts of stuff in there, other diaphragms, large diaphragm condensers, there's the kick drum mics, all these kind of things. They're all in my little mic locker in the other rooms, but these mics that I've chosen today, when I just went through them all, I thought, you know what, these mics are dragged out every day and used constantly. So you don't necessarily need the Neumann U87 AI, which I use, but it's just nice to have. So for me, Chris, hopefully that's been of use, and it's nice to chat to you all. Please give the channel a like and a subscribe. It makes my day. And as always, stay safe, stay well, and keep on rocking in the free world.